Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. You are watching CGTN, and right now we are watching footage of the blue moon being streamed live from Miami. As you can see, it's a quiet night in Florida, and this moon in particular is special because it coincides with the arrival of the May full moon, earning the nickname of the flower moon. This is, some would say, some kind of cosmic coincidence, as it won't happen again for another 2 years. So what you're witnessing now is a pretty unique spectacle. As you can see from the footage, the way it's being shot, the color correction or contrast, or however it is, means that the moon isn't particularly blue, which is not what I was expecting, but you can see it's incredibly bright and very large too. The sky over Miami is, I would say, quite cloudy tonight. I don't typically know what the weather is like down there at this time of year, but considering the cover of the clouds, you can tell the moon is incredibly bright as it is piercing through them quite easily. I'm unsure if in a city like Miami this is a particularly exciting scene. As we can see, we're looking upwards at the sky. Perhaps people on the ground are focusing on this too, or within the skyscrapers paying attention. I have a feeling that the brightness of the moon is enough that it's almost simply illuminating the ground, and people are treating it like a very large, almost sun at night. This thick, heavy rain cloud seems to be on its way to cover the moon itself. But as you can see, the camera focusing keeps changing the distance and the lens, perhaps. Whatever the effect is, we can see the surface of the moon in certain shots. And the detail that we can get from this camera with this light, if you can just about see it, there's a sliver at the top. We are getting quite a lot of detail. It isn't simply the man on the moon, as certain people say. We're getting craters, we're getting scratches, we're getting, the whole view. Or we would get the whole view were it not for this very large cloud. This is downtown Miami. You're watching us on CGTN, and it seems like for a Saturday night, this is a pretty quiet, pretty chill spot. At the time, I believe it would be 8:35 a.m., give or take a few minutes, and people seem to be heading home, heading back from work, heading out maybe. If you're just joining us, this is CGTN's live coverage of the blue moon, live from Miami, Florida, in the United States. We finally have, well, we will when the camera pans upwards, finally have the whole moon on show. depending on, I assume it's the aperture of the lens or the amount of brightness. I think that's actually what the aperture does. We can see that this blue moon is particularly bright, and if you correctly can show a lot of detail. I say can because it is once again heading behind these very large clouds. You can't really plan for weather, which is a shame for an event like this, because this particular moon will not be seen again for another 2 years. It is the flower moon, which is what happens when a blue moon coincides with the May full moon. If you're just joining us, this is live coverage of the flower moon with CGTN. It seems like we might not see much more of this moon due to the size of this cloud, but as you can see from the way the cloud itself is backlit almost, you can tell that this moon is particularly special as it is remarkably bright. If you're just joining us, this is live coverage of the flower moon, live from Miami, Florida with CGTN. It's pretty remarkable that even with the amount of neon lights, car headlights, street lights, the general light pollution, as scientists and others call it, the brightness from the moon is still pretty overpowering, even from behind this very large rain cloud. The cloud is slightly giving way to the moon. And like I say, you can tell by the brightness of it that it's something special. As it is, there's a very small gap. It's encroaching slightly. But through that very small gap, we can see roughly half the moon, maybe the bottom third, and the brightness of it is overpowering everything else. It's in fact providing quite a nice backdrop to the rest of this urban scene. In a city like Miami, you don't particularly get much nature. You get parks, you get trees, but a moon like this is special. And if you're just joining us now, this is the flower moon, live from Miami, Florida with CGTN. I don't necessarily know too much about the geography of the moon, but I believe from what we can see here is towards the top, I believe that's the Sea of Tranquility. That could be completely incorrect, but it's still a very large shot of the large craters at the top of the moon, to the north of the moon, I suppose. And that's a pretty rare sight. So rare, in fact, that this won't be seen for another 2 years. The craters will be, of course. I mean, in this context, as the flower moon, which is what we call it when the blue moon and the May new moon coincide on the same date. If you're just tuning in, this is live coverage of the flower moon from Miami, Florida with CGTN. As you can see, the weather seems to have cleared up, perhaps not completely, but the gaps in the clouds appear to be getting larger, giving us a much better view of this pretty unique, pretty special flower moon. If you're just tuning in, this is live coverage of the flower moon from Miami, Florida with CGTN. you're just tuning in, this is live coverage of the flower moon from Miami, Florida in the United States with CGTN. We are live across social media platforms around the world, bringing you this natural marvel. Finally, it seems the clouds have drifted away, at least it's what it seems like so far, giving us a much clearer view of the flower moon. Julie Evelyn Womack on Facebook says, very amazing, thank you for sharing. It's our pleasure at CGTN. If anyone has any questions or comments about the flower moon, they can leave them on Facebook, Weibo, Twitter, and other social media platforms that we are broadcasting on live right now. If you're just tuning in, this is coverage of the flower moon, live from Miami, Florida, United States, with CGTN. Now that the sky is cleared and the cameraman has decided to focus entirely on the moon, we get a pretty good shot of the surface here. Like I say, I believe what we're seeing there somewhere, could be at the top, could be at the bottom, probably could even not be on the moon itself. I believe we are looking at the Sea of Tranquility. I'm not necessarily sure. Either way, it's a very beautiful sight. It's remarkable to think, now that the cameraman has zoomed back out, we get the larger sense of scale. We have this massive city in terms of Miami, but you look up into the sky and you see this flower moon, which is the combination of a blue moon and the May new moon, and it's a pretty huge object in the sky, and yet you consider just how far away it is up in space. It's remarkable. Our coverage of the flower moon is coming to a close now. I've been Josh McNally with CGTN. Thank you for joining us to enjoy this natural marvel together, this cosmic coincidence that will not be repeated for another 2 years. Thank you very much. I'll see you again sometime. Goodbye.